light for the, yeah, thank you. Why would a monk be talking about economics? Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I went to college in 1971 during the Vietnam War. Confusing time. I took part in the protests against the war. I burned my draft card. I wrote a letter to the Selective Service Office telling them I just broke the law. A good friend went to jail for 2 years. I did not, because 500,000 other people did too. I had this poster on my wall. At the risk of sounding ridiculous, I would say the true revolutionary is guided by great feelings of love. I thought that's what I want to be. I want to be a revolution. I want to change the injustice and exploitation in this world as fast as possible, but I want to do it with love. I learned yoga and meditation as a hobby and discovered more happiness, more love, more peace than I thought possible. So at the age of 24, I went to India to become a monk. And it was scary. I had to leave my country. I was going to spend the rest of my life working in other countries. I can be celibate for the rest of my life, but it allows me to work 24/7, to go anywhere at any time. I couldn't do that with a family. And two things inspired me. One was the progressive utilization theory, or Prout, which is a socio-economic model that's an alternative to both capitalism and communism, based on economic self-reliance, cooperatives, economic balance, and universal spiritual values. And the other thing that inspired me a lot was the founder of this, who was Prabhat, Ranjan Sarkar. I first met him in his prison cell because he spent 7 years as a political prisoner because of his stand against corruption, the exploitation of women, and the exploitation of the caste system in India. Never did I meet anyone who had so much unconditional love. He inspired me to dedicate my life. The orange means my life is dedicated in service to humanity. You know, I wrote a book called After Capitalism, Economic Democracy in Action, and it's available in the bookstore. Why? Because here's a film. They were just coming out of the movie house. The Economy is playing. And some people are really happy, you know, and some people are really unhappy. It's the same economy, but it doesn't work for everybody. We need something that does. So how can we live in a world where there's hunger when there's more than enough food, according to the United Nations, to feed all the people on the planet? What kind of stupid world do we live in that we don't care? There are several responses to exploitation, or injustice, or racism when you see those things. The first one is silence. Out of fear, or maybe out of fear of losing my privilege, I'm not going to say anything. Another response, of course, is reform. I want to work to change this legally. The only problem is many times, by the time the law actually changes, everybody you wanted to help is dead. Another possibility is revolution. And Sarkar clearly put himself in that camp, and I do too. So I'm a revolutionary monk, and for the last 38 years I've been working in different parts of the world, trying to change the world with love. Why do we need economic democracy? A democracy of the people, by the people, and for the people. I interviewed Noam Chomsky in his office with the Occupy Wall Street film crew that came up to film him. And I asked him this question, this was his reply. You can't have meaningful political democracy without functioning economic democracy. Why? Obviously, because big money is controlling all the elections. You can calculate 85 to 90% of the elections before the voting take place just by looking at how much each candidate in this country spends. The candidate who spends the most wins in 85 to 90% of every single one. Is that democracy? Is that fair? So, the first principle of economic democracy is the right to live. 5 fundamental necessities that every human being requires: food, clothing, shelter, education, medical care. Can you imagine a world where nobody has to worry about these 5 things? Where everybody has it? Yes, you want to have a bigger house, but you have a minimum warm, safe house for you and your family. Jobs with fair wages for everybody is, of course, a fundamental right. Now, the minimum wage in this country, the last I checked, nationally was $7.25 an hour. Do you think that can provide the minimum necessities of life to a family of four, for example? And I asked the question, what's the maximum? Well, if you join the federal government, this is your starting salary. It's fixed. You can find it on the internet. And the highest salary of all is about 10 times higher. President Obama just changed it. For 14 individuals, they get about 15 times higher. But still, that's a very small gap between, 17,000 and 179,000. Why? Same in the military, of course. So all the state governments, city governments, all the governments in the world actually have pay scales like this. So question, why couldn't we have the same kind of limits for wealth, income, and land ownership for the whole society? I warned you at the beginning, I'm a very radical monk, okay? You're going to hear very strange ideas from me, okay? This was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president, who supported that. Okay, democracy, economic democracy supports three levels of the economy. The economy works, and capitalism works very well in the small scale. Private enterprise, encourage innovators, encourage innovation, encourage individuals, families to open their enterprises, reduce the red tape that's necessary to a very minimum, get everybody into the formal economy. But you make limits, maximum 10 employees, for example. You cross that line and you get to cooperatives where everybody owns their business. Everybody benefits from the work that they do. It's the businesses of the future. Now you get some businesses that are so large or so complex that they really don't work well in face-to-face cooperatives. And there you make your strategic key industries, which are public utilities, like the State Bank of North Dakota, which, because they don't speculate with the money, all the money goes right back into the communities. It's surprising. It's one of the states with the highest level of quality of life for the people. It's not a very good graph, but it shows, in general, because every business is slightly different, that when you buy locally, more of your money stays in the community than if you go to a McDonald's restaurant or some big box store and more than 90 cents of your dollar goes to the big investors and goes to China and all the other places. Okay, I work in Venezuela. I'm with the Prout Research Institute there. We did a documentary, Another Life is Possible with Cooperatives, because cooperatives give people that opportunity to control their own destiny. They also have community empowerment in Venezuela. There are problems in Venezuela. There are a few problems in this country I noticed. I don't know if you observed anything. But they have 44,000 communal councils, 400 families. They decide all the problems that they're facing. And then they argue for hours, trying to decide what's the top two priorities. They write a project proposal, they send it to the federal government, only for $10,000 or $20,000, not very much. But the government gives that money to them in their cooperative bank, and they solve the problems that they decided, not that the government decided. This is community empowerment. It started in Porto Alegre, Brazil, participatory budgeting, they call it. It's a very powerful way to give communities power over their own lives. This is a food cooperative in Venezuela, over $100 million in annual sales. It's incredible. There are no bosses, there's no administrators. In this cooperative, everybody gets the same salary. And it's incredible, 30% cheaper than all the supermarket prices. 66,000 families shop there every week. It's incredible. When Argentina was tanking, the workers started taking over the factories that were closing and running them as cooperatives. Out of 250 cooperatives, only 2 failed. And in Brazil, 174 cooperatives. In Venezuela and other countries, other worker takeovers running as cooperatives. I think you all know these statistics. Over 1 billion people in the world are members of cooperatives today. Now, everybody's a member, doesn't have a job, obviously. credit union, whatever. So, but cooperatives provide 20% more jobs than all the corporations put together in the world. And they're much more likely to succeed. The government actually, there's nobody who produces statistics about failure rates. These are very conservative estimates. In Silicon Valley, they say it's 90% failure rate for new startups. Okay? And yet cooperatives, this is very correct. 10 to 12% co-op failure, according to the credit union of the country. So, this is a painting from the Philippines where I spent 9 years. And it's bayanihan is the word that means we all move a house together. It doesn't happen much anymore. But every child in that country knows that bayanihan means we all work together. We do it together. So, if human nature, is it competitive or is it cooperative? Herbert Spencer applied the biology of Charles Darwin, a contemporary in England. He applies it to society. He came up with a term, society, that survival of the fittest. And if you switch that around, it becomes that the strong should rule. Well, this is fantastic for Germany, for Great Britain, for United States, for imperialism. It's wonderful. It supports, if you're a strong nation, you can conquer any nation and you can take it over, no problem at all. Now, there's also a scientific view that supports, 1960, Konrad Lorenz on aggression, that the human being, animal, is fundamentally violent, aggressive, and dangerous. And 10 years later, 1970, Richard Dawkins, the selfish gene, that we are fundamentally selfish by nature. So, this is not dead yet. Who might these people represent? You might say politicians, you might say corporate executives. In South America, they say, well, this is the telenovelas, this is the soap operas, reality shows, right? Smile at your friend and stab him in the back. This is great fun for television. And this is what the gatekeepers are promoting everywhere. This is the kind of violence that they say is our fundamental human nature because we're all violent, right? Too big to fail, remember that? Too big to jail, you heard that too? The 5 largest banks are convicted every day of committing felonies for 5 years. The 5 largest banks. And yet, amazingly, not a single human being did a crime. They're paying $5 billion in fines for the felonies the bank paper committed, and no human being did anything wrong. It's amazing. It's amazing how they can get away with it. So, and at the same time, the same year, 2008, when the first payouts went out, they say the 10 largest banks and 250 small and medium banks went bankrupt because they're not important, right? Social Darwinism, remember, right? The 2 big ones? Okay, so some people believe that our nature is fundamentally competitive and greedy. But capitalism affects us. If you're getting paid to get your photograph taken in that, you're going to pose exactly the way they want you to pose, right? And wear exactly the clothes and everything else. And that's the whole way that capitalism works. Now, science knows that we also have selfless genes. There's a part of us that wants to help other people. Why do people risk their lives or endanger themselves to save somebody they don't even know? You all know mirror neurons, right? Mirror neurons are that part of your brain that these people are watching a soccer game and they just saw a player badly hurt. Their bodies are going through shock, and nobody touched them. Because it's that part of the brain, the mirror neuron, that tells you, and it's the opposite's true too. You see somebody who's really happy and really in love, and you feel really happy too, right? This is our nature. Oxytocin, you all know the oxytocin hormone, right? This is a neuropeptide They found mothers, of course, produce it for the babies, but later they discovered that lots of people produce it. You hug somebody for a few seconds, you're going to start producing oxytocin. It's great stuff, okay? So, I'm going to come back to this in a minute. How many of you know what neuroeconomics is? Neuroeconomics is a new field of economics, right? And what it is that traditional economists say that human beings make economic decisions according to self-interest or utility. What does utility mean? They don't have a clue. They don't know why people half the time don't do what they predict they should do according to self-interest. So what they did is they made a game like Monopoly with play money, right? And they gave everybody an inhaler before it started. And half the inhalers, known to everybody, had oxytocin in it, and half didn't. And so as they're playing the game, somebody would take an oxytocin, you're running out of money. Here, you take some money. No, you don't have to pay it back. It's okay, it's okay. They don't care about winning anymore. They just want everybody to be happy. Wow, this is different economics, right? They want everybody to be happy. So we know now that in every one of us, we have tendencies towards violence and aggression. We also have tendency towards compassion and altruism and love. And so biopsychology is about using the ancient science in order to make us more compassionate, more loving, and more cooperative by nature. Okay. So why don't people cooperate more often? There are lots of reasons, but one of the reasons is education. So I teach cooperative games. Here everybody's doing a back massage for the person in front of them. Feels great, believe me, it's a wonderful game, And you remember the game musical chairs, right? You have 10 children and 8 chairs. You play the music, you stop the music. Kids try to sit down. Oops, sorry, you have to go out. And finally you have one winner, right? Play the same game, but you play it as a cooperative game until 22 individuals, including adults, are all sitting on one chair. And they're having a wonderful time. They're laughing their heads off. It's a great game. You don't tell them how to do it. You just say, somehow, all you got to sit in the remaining chairs. So they start scooching over and sitting on one another's lap until finally they all work it out. And it's a wonderful lesson in ecology too, right? You can levitate people, like they talked about in yoga, right? Just cooperatively raise them up to the ceiling together. It's wonderful. And with the help of your friends, you can even fly. So I teach cooperative games. I'm writing a book now about 150 cooperative games. They're everywhere. There's no copyright on games. It's great. But they're a wonderful way to show a group of people in reality to discover what it's like to cooperate, the power of cooperation. This is the institute I started in 2007. It's in Caracas, Venezuela. The whole point is to empower people and cooperatives to work together. This is our house. We have, in addition to the 10 of us who usually live there, half international volunteers, half local volunteers, we have 40 guest beds. You can all come, almost all of you can come the same day. It's wonderful. It's a great way to see what's happening in cooperatives in Venezuela. Every morning I wake up in paradise. That's what I say. These are our hardworking volunteers from the United States, Venezuela, Ecuador. And advertising, it gets me, okay? Look, honey, I bought something today. Oh, darling, I'm so proud of you. What did you buy? Doesn't matter. It can be a new car, it can be a pair of tennis shoes, it can be a Coca-Cola. But look at their faces, happiness forever. I think it's a lie. I think happiness comes from your heart, not from anything external. So the ecological and spiritual perspective of Prout, most economic systems don't have one. Prout does, and it believes that we need to find happiness not in material things. We need to work together. Meditation, there are many benefits of meditation. If you are interested in any of these benefits, I recommend you come tomorrow morning at 6:30 in the basement of Washington Hall and meditate with us. And we can teach you how to meditate better. but it doesn't cost anything. It's free of charge. It's great. I always like to talk to college classes and high school students, and always I end with this. We need a revolution based on love, and I think you should follow your bliss. And that's what I do. Thank you very much.